This is Rando Geek. So I came across this article. It's by Auto Evolution. Looks like the article was made by somebody named, was it Boglin Popa? Article was actually released back in April, but I came across my news feed and I'm like, CarPlay, Android Auto, always a good discussion. So the headline is telling us CarPlay is conquering the auto world according to new Apple data. So, Apple is saying that close to 80% of the new car buyers in the United States would not even consider buying a vehicle unless it had CarPlay or Android Auto. So the headline, of course, is mentioning CarPlay, but in the article, there's discussion of Android Auto as well. So I want to say that I definitely agree. One of the first things people look for when they're purchasing a newer vehicle is to see if CarPlay or Android Auto are available. And the reason being is everyone, of course, has a smartphone. So, you want to be able to use specific apps that are on your phone, on your, car screen. But definitely it really comes down to maps, Google Maps, Waze. You know what I mean? These are the biggest things. Messaging, whether you have Android messages or iMessage, you know, these are like the top things that you need to use or want to use when you have your car, right? You want to see that on your screen. So, the article will say that there are certain kinds of car manufacturers that are offering their own, navigation and entertainment system, infotainment system, as they want to call it. But I couldn't agree more. I think car sales would plummet even more than they have already. They've only been plummeting because chip manufacturers have skyrocketed. Chip prices have skyrocketed. There's a shortage and on and on. So everything has increased as far as price. But let's say this was pre-pandemic, right? Let's say this was discussion pre-pandemic when the economy was somewhat better and people were car shopping. There's no way people are going to buy cars without CarPlay or Android Auto. Now, there are some manufacturers that have gotten away with it. Okay, Toyota's one of them. If you've had a Toyota prior to 2020, you did not get the option for CarPlay or Android Auto. In fact, I think CarPlay was available on Toyota in 2020 for the Camry, and then I think it came in like 2021, if I'm not wrong, for like the Corolla and other Toyota vehicles. And then Android Auto also came in like 2021. So I remember there was a big thing where Toyota wouldn't give or wouldn't allow, or maybe it was Android Auto and CarPlay. For some reason or another, they couldn't come to an agreement based on, I guess they had claimed it was something to do with security. There was no way to implement it and making it secure. So I don't really understand what that means. To me, it just seems like they couldn't probably agree on a good price. I think that's the real reason, but I could be wrong. And a lot of people buy Toyotas, and they were, satisfied with the car, unsatisfied with the entertainment system. You know, Toyota had their own entertainment system, which had like 3 apps, and it was just nowhere near as good as CarPlay or Android Auto. A big problem with the onboard entertainment systems from the manufacturer is they don't update after a while. That's one of the biggest problems. Even if you were okay with using their navigation and, whatever apps that they offer, Pandora or iHeartRadio, whatever, sometimes they might onboard a couple of good, decent apps. But what happens is your interface doesn't get updated after a few years. So in like 2 or 3 years, it's going to look old and it's going to feel old. So even if your car is only 2 or 3 years old, it's going to feel like it's 5 or 6, 7 years old just because the software is outdated. So it's a good article to read. And you know what? I definitely, if you are someone that enjoys, your in-car entertainment system, you might get a kick out of reading this. But I couldn't agree more. I think that definitely, if you're someone in the market looking for a new car, I'd say like 80% for sure, guaranteed, would not even like look at a certain car if it didn't have that. Especially with the prices that they are today, it's going to be even more, people are going to be even more fussy about that. Because it's like, well, I'm paying even more now. So I want everything that I can get if possible. So, yeah. All right, guys. So that's it for this one. Um, I'll leave the link for you in the description. You can read it. The article goes on to say how they're basically Apple and Google have invested aggressively in expanding their capabilities of their apps. And for those of you that have Android Auto, you will see that they've made a lot of changes to the app. And you can see it actually looks a lot more like CarPlay than it does Android Auto. It's almost like they've basically just turned it into CarPlay. So, I mean, I like some of the new features. I like that they did the split screen is really cool. But then they also took away something that I really liked, which if you guys have Android Auto, is the weather. So it used to show in the upper right hand corner the time. I think it was the time and then the weather. Now it just shows the time. And they also made the time. So they relocated the time into the lower right corner, made the time smaller, and took away the weather. So I really hope that they change that and bring the weather back and maybe even move the time higher and make it, bigger. So this way it's like more in your face and you're not looking down to the right corner at a smaller time, which is harder to see. So I hope that they change that. But that's how Apple has it. That's how CarPlay has it. So, that's if I was using CarPlay, I would say that's something that I didn't like about CarPlay. And I've tested CarPlay as well, a couple of times. And, I definitely liked that CarPlay had a split screen because that's very useful. And I like that Android Auto finally got that. I only wish that they would have left the time and weather the way that Android Auto normally had it. I wish they would have left that. But that's it. That's it for this one, guys. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Would you consider buying a car in 2023 without Android Auto or CarPlay? And if so, why? Is it because you don't really care about the entertainment side of it, or you prefer in-house navigation and apps? The article was saying that they're more reliable. I guess because it's built in naturally and it's not relying on cell phone service, so that can make it a little buggy. I guess that might be true, but to me, like I said, in a couple of years, the software updates are not going to hit, and you're going to be looking at stale old maps and music apps that are like never updated. So it's going to feel old. That's the problem with in-house infotainment systems. They just, after a couple of years, they feel old. And even if your car is new, if 3 years is considered new still, it's going to feel old just because of that. So let me know, guys. Let me know what you think about that. Anyway, that's it for this one, and I'll catch you in the next one. Laters.